Hello, my name is Jim Connolly. I'm the Garden Center Manager here at Weston Nurseries in Chelmsford. And today we're getting a lot of calls and inquiries about when do I prune my shrubs that flowered this past April, May, maybe even early June. So today I'm going to give you a demonstration and kind of give you an explanation of when's the best time to prune. First of all, you need to make sure you use the right tools. So these are considered hedge shears. So you would use these to prune a hedge. So if you look above me, I have a hedge of arborvitae right here. That's how you would prune those. You wouldn't use these to prune the shrubs in front of your house. If you do use these to prune the shrubs in your house, you might over prune, under prune. You may not be as selective. So using the right tool for the job is important. If you have small branches, a pair of nice hand pruners would be the way to go. Anything with a larger diameter, like thicker stems, you'd use a pair of loppers. That will give you a little bit more leverage. So today we're going to talk about the different types of plants that bloom in the spring and when to prune them. So you've got deciduous shrubs. Those are plants that usually lose their leaves in the fall, and some of them bloom in the spring, some of them bloom in the summer. The summer blooming ones you really don't want to touch. The spring blooming ones that bloomed in April, May, right up until the middle of June, you want to prune those, and you can prune them back as far as you want. You could go back a third, 25%. You definitely want to prune the dead flowers off, but that's a plant that can take a very hard pruning. Deciduous shrubs have the ability to actually grow growth off their wood. So if you look at this plant here, this is called a 9-bark, and this plant was pruned back in April. See how nice and dense it is? So you don't have to really worry about this. Maybe doing a little bit of tip pruning if you want to, just to go ahead and get rid of those fingers. Now this plant is the same variety that was left over here at the garden center from last year, and you can see how much sparser it is and how it's more leggy. This plant was pruned in April. It filled right in. This plant was never pruned. We still have time to renovate this plant. I can cut this plant back as far as I want. I can cut it back a foot, 2 foot off the ground, and I can remove as much of this taller wispy growth. And what's going to happen is between now and the next 4 weeks, I'm going to see an explosion of growth that's going to form right below where I pruned. And this plant now doesn't have those nice long feathers, and it's going to be fat and full, and it's going to look just like this one over here in about 2 or 3 weeks. So deciduous shrubs are easy to prune. Why we want to prune is because we didn't want that leggy growth. We wanted to fatten it up so that way there's more branches, more foliage to enjoy the beauty of this particular plant. With flowering plants, when you prune them, you're pruning them so that you can encourage more growth, more flowers for the future. So these are deciduous shrubs that don't really do much but flower in the spring and then have the foliage all season long. This is a deciduous shrub that actually blooms in June, and it's now at the stage where the flowers are just finishing up. This is called a spirea. Spireas do have the ability to flower a second time, possibly a third time. So with these, you just want to give them a slight haircut so that you can remove those spent flowers. And I'm just pruning randomly. Yeah, you could be more precise and find a leaf and prune it right to a leaf just like I did there. But if I prune it right in the middle, it's still going to be fine. But all I'm going to do is go around and I'm cleaning up all those spent flowers. And what's going to happen now is a blush of new growth will come out, the foliage will look attractive, and then another set of flowers. So spireas are one plant that you could do that and still get flowers from. Roses, most roses bloom on their own, but to encourage more flowers, what you want to do is prune off the spent flowers. And it's not just cutting the flower behind where the flower bud has finished, because that's not going to solve it. Where there are 5 leaves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where you want to cut, because new growth will come from there and fill in. So right here, you can see I'm going to cut it to 5 leaves. This one here, I cut to 3, so I'm going to come back to 5, and I'll see all this new growth. If you need to know more information about rose pruning, rose care, we have a video on our website that talks all about the different families of roses and the care of them. So now we're into the broadleaf evergreens. Broadleaf evergreens are typically your rhododendrons, your azaleas, your andromeda. They all bloom usually April, May, June, and they have a beautiful flower when they come out. And after they flower, the blush of new growth comes out. So you can see this one here has all that new growth. This one here has all that floppy new growth. This is the rhododendron Roseum elegans. This is the rhododendron aglow. And then this one here is the mountain fire andrometer. You can see all the dead spent flowers on the andrometer. So these are all broadleaf evergreens that have finished their cycle of flowering. What I want to try to do is be selective of how to prune. So if you look at this branch right here, there's about 5 or 6 small branches that grew out. Maybe I prune every other one. So I'll cut this one back, I'll cut that one back, I'll cut back that one, and I'll leave the other ones. And then over here, I might just cut that one back, I might cut that one back, and I might cut this one back. So I'm still keeping some growth. The flowers that will come from on these branches will be fine. It is possible where it's still early enough where it might blush out again with another set of growth. Now, can I cut this branch all the way back to the ground? Certainly if I want to, as long as there's growth in here to kind of fill in. But if I cut back to where there's no growth, it won't fill in. It will look like an empty spot for quite a few years. So on this, you can see I got a lot of, I call them feathers, just long branches that are coming here. Certainly, I can take this plant here and I can cut it back here if I don't want that feather. So that's what it was before, that's what I have. And then I have all this growth in here. If I want to go ahead and just give it a little bit of a haircut, I could do that. So take every other one out. And it's possible that still this year, I might get a blush of new growth that will come in here. But if I kept on cutting this back to here, where there's no growth, then I may not see that growth ever coming back. So the key for broadleaf evergreens is typically a window of 2 to 4 weeks after it flowers is the best time to prune. If you have other questions about pruning and what tools to use, you can certainly come down to the garden center here. Any one of our horticultural experts can help you out. You could also, if you have questions or comments, you can leave it on the video as well. This is Jim from Weston in Chelmsford.